Whoa, what's up YouTube? It's been a minute. If you saw my last video, you know I'm kind of dealing with the newness of being a father for the first time, so there's been a lot going on in the realm of my life right now. So the Evil Castrigal channel has taken a backseat, unfortunately, but we are rolling back into things. You can tell I am in a different shop. We have moved also, so we've been doing a home renovation. It's just been, I've been really busy. But that little red bike behind me I want to talk about. So let's get into the video. So if you're like me and you're just kind of obsessed with everything two wheels, you've probably got a project bike sitting somewhere in a dark corner in the recesses of your shop or in a shed that you just haven't gotten around to actually doing anything with it yet. And that's the case with this red bike behind me. This is a I believe it's an 81. Sorry, correction. This is a 1978. This is a 78 Honda CB400T. This is the 400cc twin. I bought this bike 7 years ago before my wife and I had actually gotten married. We were engaged at that point in our lives, and I bought this bike for, I believe, $100, mainly because it had a title. And in Indiana, it's really hard to get a new title on a bike that you don't have one with. So I scooped it up. It was one of those things where somebody had it that I knew, and I took it off their hands, and I thought I'll do something with it someday soon. And then 7 years later, nothing had happened. And actually, during the moving process, this thing was sitting in a shed, and I was like, oh yeah, I have that motorcycle. So I've decided I'm going to do something with it. This is kind of my motivation to get out in the garage and actually do something and make some more content for the YouTube channel. So I guess let's get into the ideas that I've had. I've had this idea for this motorcycle since I bought it 7 years ago. So again, this is a 78 CB400T. I bought it in this condition. Motor was not together, but it does have a key and it's got a title, and all the other parts are actually over there in those boxes. So the plan was I was going to make this bike an adventure bike, or sort of like a light duty dual sport, which is crazy, I know, because it uses the actual motor as a stress member of the frame. But this is more of a light duty bike. That was the thoughts, and I just never got around to it. I bought all of the parts to fix the motor 7 years ago, got them all on eBay, and I just didn't have time or got off on other things. Obviously, I'm kind of obsessed. So when we moved, I said, screw it, I am going to do this motorcycle. I'm going to put it together. The idea for the motorcycle, I've had the name in my head since I bought it 7 years ago, is called the Elsifour. So I want to make it look like a late 70s, early 80s Honda Elsinore before they went to a monoshock. So this would be like the twin shock bikes. I'll put some pictures in to kind of show you the idea of where I wanted to go with this motorcycle 7 years ago. And it's kind of become a popular thing to turn these kind of motorcycles into adventure bikes. But I actually had this idea 7 years ago. I was just too, my ADHD kicked in and I got off on other things. So anyway, the idea for the motorcycle, this is a Photoshop that I did a long time ago. This is kind of where I wanted to go with it. I've got a set of Showa twin chamber forks that I've had for a long time. And I was going to put them and try to mate the front end onto this motorcycle. But in the process of starting to get this whole idea warmed back up in my brain, my friend Rodney Carrier, who you've seen on the channel previously at Vintage Motorcycle Days, among other things, actually called me, I guess a month or two ago, and said, hey, Paul Cycle over in Louisville, they've got a bunch of CB400s and 450s that are like fully together that she's just wanting to get rid of. They don't have titles, but she'll sell them for $100. So I immediately rushed over there and looked at them, because we're talking about a motor that's all together. I don't have to put this thing back together with parts that I don't know. I didn't take the bike apart, so I don't know where everything is, and it just seemed like a no-brainer. Let's go do it. So I'll show you what I picked up. This is a much newer motorcycle. This is a 1986 CB450. And this is the Nighthawk variation. So this is the SC. There's lots of things that are different on this motorcycle, but the important part is that is the same motor. Basically, it's a little bigger, but the bolt patterns are the same. If you were going to just direct swap the motor over to this bike, I would have to put a spacer on the countershaft because the chain line is not the same on this bike versus the older CB over there. But I am lucking out because I noticed as I was looking at this motorcycle and I was kind of doing the Photoshop on this red one, if I put taller shocks on this, it's going to move that wheel down and in. So it's actually going to shorten the wheelbase, and I think it's going to make the geometry super weird. Luckily, the Nighthawk's got a longer swing arm. And looking at them, again, I haven't confirmed this yet, but I believe that swing arm will bolt right onto this motorcycle. So that's the goal. And if I don't end up doing the modern front end with the twin chambers, these forks are a lot longer. And I'm betting you this whole triple tree setup will bolt right on that motorcycle over there. So the idea is I'm not just going to cannibalize this bike for the motor, which is in great shape, which is just awesome. And it's a black motor, which I think will look good with the all red frame and everything that we're going to do on that motorcycle. But I'm going to put these longer forks on. I'm going to use the wheels because this actually has a bigger front wheel. And these are true mags instead of those stamped together things that come on the CB. And we are going to get some aftermarket shocks, I believe. But basically my goal today here in the shop is I'm going to take this bike and that bike. I'm just going to take them totally down to parts. And then I'm going to piece together one Franken bike and kind of mock it up before I order my shocks, because I'm going to need to know what my actual shock length will need to be. And then we will tear it all the way back down apart, paint the frame. Going to do lots of fabricating. This will not all be in this one video. This is obviously going to be stretched out, but basically I've just got a lot of work ahead of me. This is my birthday weekend, and I told the wife all I want to do is work in the shop. I just don't have a lot of time to do this kind of thing, so I'm excited to get into it. So basically, I guess I'm going to start taking these things apart, and then once I do that, we'll mock it up, and I don't know, we'll just kind of see how it goes, and I'll time lapse a little bit of me taking these things apart, and yeah, just kind of chat and see where this whole process takes us. If you got any ideas on what you think would look cool or what would work, or if you know anything about these motorcycles and you want to comment, please comment below and give me all of your feedback, anything you know about these, because I've never worked with these. Obviously, I've got an old CB750, actually my first street bike. Let's check that out. This old beast right here, first street bike I ever bought. Rode it to college almost every day. Ashley and I had engagement photos taken on this old rat bike. That's an awesome motorcycle. It still starts. Everything works. It's a little rougher looking than it actually is. All right, I guess let's get to tearing down. Okay, as I'm taking this thing apart, I just wanted to note something really quick that's only really a problem if you are not doing what I'm doing, but I could see it being a real gripe for a mechanic that was servicing one of these things. I can't speak for the CB, but I'm assuming it's the same way. And I don't know if it's just because this thing is old and it's got some crust on it, but even if you wanted to just take this exhaust off to do anything to the motorcycle, only way I'm seeing that this all is going to come off is if I take foot peg mounts off. I've already taken the rider peg off on this side. It's a lot of bolts, and none of the nuts are the same. Like, this is a 14, this is a 12, these are 10s, there's 12s and 14s all throughout this thing. It's not very consistent, and I could see in a motorcycle shop back in the mid-80s a lot of bitching going on. Just a pointer. Obviously not a problem for me because I'm taking this thing all the way apart anyway. I've got to take all this stuff off to get the motor out, so not a big deal, but I just thought it was funny from a service perspective. All right, back to it. So that chain didn't have a quick link, and it broke my chain breaker, so had to cut it off. Super fun. Okay, the motor is pulled. Lots of electronics had to get disconnected to do that. I'm not too worried about what goes where because I am going to be putting an all new electrical system on this motorcycle. A plug and play system. There's the motor. And if you're wondering, did I start this motor before I took it apart? I did turn it over. This morning, I got a new battery over there. Ignore the mess. And jumped across the starter solenoid with a screwdriver, and this thing sounded really good. So I think that thing is going to be A-okay. Now over to the 78. We're going to pull this motor. I'm basically just pulling the motors right now, making the bikes a little easier to move around, and then I'm going to start swapping over the front end. And if you're wondering why I'm even thinking about messing with this front end instead of doing the cool Showa twin chambers, it's because this is old school looking. Leading axle, which is super sick in moto. And these are air forks. I don't know much about tuning them. If they're anything like the air forks that are on my YZ250, the 81 over there, which they look pretty similar. I don't know. I'm guessing maybe this is an adjustable spring rate. So pretty cool. Obviously not as adjustable as the twin chamber, but a little bit more period correct. So yeah, pretty stoked. Okay, so we are actually at a point where both motors are out of both motorcycles. That's the 78. Whoop, that's the 86 over there. I mean, it's remarkable how similar they are. Obviously, it's the same basic bottom end, so it looks like it's going to bolt right in. So now the next thing we're going to do, now that I've got them a little bit more manageable, they're a little lighter weight to move around, I am going to swap over the front ends Like I said, I want to use that fork on the 86, on the 78, and I also want to use that swing arm on the 78 from the 86. So, should all swap over. Let's hope it does.
Oh, no.
Okay, so the front end is off of the 86. We've got it rigged up on a rafter here. I have to remove the swing arm off the 86 still. And then I may harvest some of the electronics like the rectifier, some of this stuff over here that I might be able to reuse with the new system that I'm gonna go with. It's gonna be a much simpler system. Probably gonna still do a twin carb, so I'm probably gonna use these carbs because they look pretty clean up inside. I don't know yet. I may go single carb, and I'll probably grab the ignition off of this one just because it's newer. That's probably all I'll do with the rest of this frame. I may rob some parts off of it when we start fabricating, like these shock mounts, because the shocks on the 76 were double clevis, which is insane. You cannot find a good replacement for what I'm wanting to do with that, because I'm wanting to get some piggybacks with adjustment. So we'll probably have to rob those mounts off of here, like I said, do some cutting. There's going to be lots of welding involved in the future, obviously. But here it is, stripped down. Obviously, still got to take the front end off of this and swap out the swing arms, and then we're going to take it all the way down, and we are going to paint this frame like a Honda CR Elsinore red, and then it'll go back together again. So unfortunately, I have to go to a Marcus King concert. So I want to see Marcus King, but I don't have any more time in the garage. The wife just called me and said I have to go get cleaned up. So we are going to stop for today. This is obviously going to be a long process, multiple videos released as we go with the build. This is way bigger than anything I've ever done before. So I'm excited, and I hope you guys stay tuned and watch along as I probably pull my hair out multiple times trying to get this thing together. Let me know in the comments if you have any ideas, or if you just think I'm nuts and I should just give up. Whatever. Thanks for watching, guys. It's been Scotty with Evil Castrigal, and I will see you in the next one.